Hello friends, and welcome to The Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you may have recognized from the thumbnail for this video that this is part of my deck dive series. My series in which I spend at least a month with a deck and then I come back and I do a review or a reaction video to the deck. And have I got a deck for you? For the last 4 videos, I've been using this wonderful work called the Light and Shadow Tarot. Now this tarot was created by, this name is a little bit difficult for me, but Michael Goepferd and Brian Williams. Brian Williams is easy. Actually, Brian Williams is a creator of illustrator for several decks. He was the illustrator for this deck. He's also done a Minchiati deck, which I have and am planning on using when I do a dive into the Minchiati system. He's also done a wonderful deck, which I have over here, called the Pomo Tarot, which is postmodernist art styled tarot. He's also got a deck called the Renaissance Tarot, which I'm actually thinking of using right after I do my next mini-series on my newly reconstructed, for me, associations of astrology, planets, signs, elements, Hebrew letters, etc., esoteric associations to the tarot. So I've been working on my own reconstruction of those associations that make more sense to me. I'm not dissing the Golden Dawn. I'm not dissing anybody who follows the Smith-Waite, the Harris-Crowley versions of the Golden Dawn's associations. No problem. But there are other things out there, and have rearranged things to fit my brain, and I'll show you what I've got in a little mini-series coming up next. But first, I've got this deck. And so again, the creators are Michael, I think it's Goepferd, and Brian Williams. The publisher is an interesting publisher, yeah? It was published in 1996. It's still available on Amazon, by the way, but it was published in 1996 by Destiny Books. And I thought, Destiny Books, I've never heard of them, but then I looked, and they are the creators of, or the publishers of, the Cosmic Tarot. You know the Cosmic Tarot, yeah? From back in the 1990s, I think it was, the Cosmic Tribe Tarot from 1996. They also did the Hoodoo Tarot, which I also have in that part of my library. Those are wonderful decks. And I just had not remembered the publisher name. We always think Llewellyn, US Games, Lo Scarabeo, Blue Feather, etc. They do a few really good decks. Just saying. So, if you want to get this deck, I will put a link to the Amazon page in the description box below, but I'm sure you can get it at other places. You might even be able to get it from the publisher. So yeah, friends, what are we going to do? I'm going to turn the camera down and we are going to go through this deck. Yeah, we'll cover everything from soup to nuts, from box to cardstock, okay? So friends, if you want to join me, if you're all ready, stay tuned. We're going to flip down and focus on the deck. Here we go. Friends, we are back. And again, this is the Light and Shadow Tarot. And I did make a mistake earlier on in the video, and I'm going to correct it with subtitles, I hope, but I was wrong. Michael Goepferd is the artist, Brian Williams is the writer for the book. which is interesting because, like I said, Brian Williams has created other decks on his own. So I just assumed he was the artist, but I, looking back at the guidebook once again, found that I was mistaken. Beautiful deck. Beautiful, beautiful deck. It's black and white, but let's start with the book. Not the book, the box. This is called a box. Nice box. It's folded cardstock. Yeah, here's the back of the box. It says here that the Light and Shadow Tarot is inspired by many spiritual traditions, including Celtic, Native American, East Indian, African, and medieval European. The black and white images stress contrast and balance, resolution and completion, while retaining strong and workable ties to the traditional tarot. And we're going to get into that, what traditional tarot means, later on in the video. But it really is a very nice box generally. I mean, I like the color choices, I like the fonts, I like the design overall. However, it is a two-part box and there are no thumb cutouts here. So beware, be warned. Forewarned is forearmed, yeah? If you don't have the entire deck inside of the box, if you don't even have some of the deck inside of the box, it can be a little challenging to open. And the inside of the box is really basic. It's fine. And let's set the box aside. Yeah, it's good. It's usable. But like I said, don't close the box without the cards or something inside of it. Yeah? The guidebook. Let's look at the guidebook. Now, the guidebook is good. Yeah, you'll notice that it has a creased binding here, which means that with use, yeah, opening and closing it, the side of the binding is preserved, which is nice. The cover of the book is just the same as the cover of the box, which is nice. The book fits nicely within the box. The sizing is perfect. And it's well written. It's very well written. And here it says right here, block prints by Michael Goepferd. Should have remembered that. So, if we look at the contents, we see that we have a couple of pages for each one of the major arcana, and we have pages for the minor arcana, which is nice. You know, a lot of books, they really do skimp on the minor arcana. They spend a lot of time on the majors. And I always leave those guidebooks feeling a little disappointed. But this one has a nice balance of information. Very, very nice. We don't need to really look at the preface, I don't think, but I would like to read part of the introduction. Not from the beginning, but from here. Let's see. Okay, here. The Light and Shadow Tarot. Right from this point, yes? The Light and Shadow Tarot is both a traditional tarot deck, respecting the structure and symbolism of an ancient tradition. I quibble with the word ancient personally. An old tradition, yes, and an entirely fresh and original creation. It embodies the contrast between light and dark. It certainly does. Heavy and light. It leans towards heavy, but okay, I'll give them that. Feminine and masculine, sure, expressed in a lively linear idiom of black and white graphics. It really is beautiful. And if you recall, my last deck dive was of artwork that was very, very fine etched lines, yeah? And it got very tiring on my eyes to look at art with such fine line work. These bold lines were very refreshing for me. This contrast, though, does not mean Manichaean duality of good battling evil, order against chaos, darkness striving to drive out the light. Instead, Light and Shadow celebrates the balance and synthesis of contrasting forces. Very true. It honors the significance of and interplay of both extremes. Think of the classic symbols of yin and yang. Each teardrop shape begins alongside the fullness of its opposite. And then, as it reaches spherical perfection, the seed of its opposite is born in its heart. Right? You know what he's talking about, the yin-yang sign. In Korean, we call it yang. The interplay of light and shadow comes out in the black and white contrast of the block print. The strict constraints of the printmaking medium are a challenge, but also an inspiration. The process prompts the artist to hone in, to refine, to concentrate, because the final image must be carefully considered. After a certain point, correcting the image is impossible. At the same time, the force of spontaneity is always there, because for Michael Goepferd, the act of designing and carving is dynamic. He begins the design directly on the block. Interesting. Without preliminary sketches on paper. That shows a lot of confidence, and it's very impressive. The drawing grows and changes. Lines are created, suppressed, and changed, as in a medieval palm set. Here we go. Sorry. The ghosts of earlier discarded lines endure in the design until the critical moment of carving. Even then, the direction of the work can change, as one cut prompts changes in the next. The complicated block is ready for the richly tactile step of printing. Viscous black ink is rolled onto it, and dampened paper is pressed against it. Finally, the paper is rubbed by hand to make a finished impression. That's how the cards were designed and created. Yeah? So this art is bold, it's strong, it has movement, it has weight. Does it have light? I feel more weight than light, but that doesn't bother me. I don't think that has to be a thing, you know? It's a lovely, lovely deck. And it's a lovely, lovely guidebook. Let me show you the guidebook briefly. Yeah? For each of the entries, for each of the cards actually, we have a thumbnail image of the card that's large enough to see fairly clearly. Each one of the entries begins with a mini poem, you might say. And then we have a description of the card, which I like. The creator of the text, what's his name? Brian Williams, describes the art very succinctly and very well and gives meaning to the description that helps in the reading. Yeah? And then at the end, there's a meaning section. It's very good. It's a very well-written book. So going through, for example, the Queen of Pentacles, court cards, right? We have that same structure. We have a little bit of a poem-like entry. We have a description of the art itself. And then we have meanings. And if we go farther into an ace, okay. Aces people treat pretty well usually. But here's the shortest one, I think. The Three of Cups. We still have a short poem, we have a short description of the card, and we have meanings. We have the thumbnail. It's very, very lovely. Yes? Now, one thing that's interesting about the layout of this guidebook is that it goes by number rather than suit. So the major arcana is all together, right? And then when we go into the minor arcana, all the kings are together. Here we go, the king, let's start with the beginning. Yeah. We actually don't start with the kings, we start with the queens. I forgot that. Yeah, we start with the queens, yeah? The Queen of Wands. Then we have the Queen of Cups. Then we have the Queen of Swords. And then we have the Queen of Pentacles. Right? And a good bit of information for each one of them, right? And we go right into the kings. Yeah? And then when we get to the aces, all of the aces are together, and then all of the twos are together, and then all of the threes are together. So if you are strict about having a guidebook that has to be organized by element, this might be challenging for you, but I like it. I really, really do like it. What else do I want to say about the guidebook? Oh, yes. Okay. So when talking about the guidebook, we also want to mention that in the deck, justice is 8 and strength is 11. Yes, so it's the more traditional order of the cards. Yeah. Also, interestingly, the court cards. I said that we had kings and queens. Yes. But instead of knights and pages, we have princes and princesses. Now, if you're going to be saying, wait a second, that's not Smith-Waite style, that's a Harris-Crowley Thoth deck. Well, my friends, but no, because we don't have knights and queens, we have kings and queens. So that's a little bit of a difference. And yet, and maybe you'll be saying, well, Crowley also put, instead of justice, adjustment, and instead of strength, lust, but adjustment is 8, lust is 11. Also true. And it's really interesting because as we go through walking through this deck, I'm going to be talking about one point very often, and that is this deck is a very interesting blend to me of the Smith-Waite tradition and the Harris-Crowley tradition, or the Smith-Waite system and the Harris-Crowley system, because for me they are different systems which both emerge from the Golden Dawn. Yes? And this blends them. So if you're a person, again, who needs to have your Smith-Waite to be pure Smith-Waite, or your Thoth Harris-Crowley deck to be pure Thoth Harris-Crowley, this may not be the deck for you, because as we look at the cards, we look at the art, we're going to see a lot of cross-pollination between those two decks. Yes? Which is interesting, and it's fascinating. And I'm not sure that I would have done it exactly the same way as Michael Goepferd and Brian Williams did it. However, it's worth exploring, I think, and it challenges and asks us to expand our perceptions of the systems, I think. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay, so let's move on to the cards, because the cards are big. Okay, so the first thing I want to say about the cards is first that they are big and they are thin. Yeah? How do the cards hold up? Well, the cardstock, because it is way too thin, makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah? It's easy to bend. And when we get to the deck interview with this deck, you will see that one of my cards I have already creased right down the side. Yeah, so this cardstock is very, very, very bendy. It's got a plastic coating to it, and it reminds me a little bit of some of the thinner Thoth decks. But I've never had a problem of a card from a Thoth deck bending and creasing the way that I had with this one, almost right out of the box. So I've had to be careful. Now, I've thought about perhaps trimming the edges of the card down here. Now, tops and bottoms are challenging. I'll show you. Well, this is what the backs of the cards look like. So let's get that out of the way. Okay, so yes, the backs are beautiful, I think. They're not reversible. True, if that bothers you, maybe this is not your deck. But I like it. We've got all of the elements there. Yeah, the cup, the pentacle, or the pentacle, yes, the wand, the sword. Very nicely drawn. Very nice wood block art. I love it. Now, let's look at the front of a card. Ooh, look at what we got. We got the devil. The challenge with trimming the tops or the bottoms is that the numbers and the text come outside of the line of this bottom here. Yeah? So, I mean, I could trim off just a little bit of the top and just a little bit of the bottom. I'm not sure I would want to be that fussy with the deck. But I could very easily see trimming off these sides to make the deck a little bit smaller, because you might be wondering, well, how big is it? Let me tell you. Here is a Smith-Waite deck, yeah, printed by US Games against this card. You can see it is a big card, yeah? Big card. Lovely, but a big card. let me show you it against a standard US Games Thoth card. It's even bigger than a Thoth card. The height is the same, but the width is larger. So my thought is, if I really want to continue with this deck regularly, I will trim off the sides, and maybe it will make the shuffling feel a little bit less fragile, make me feel a little less nervous about shuffling and creasing the cards, because I think it will feel a little less bendy. Yes? However, that fear of thin cardstock aside, it has not really shown any signs of wear, except for that crease I put into it. The cardstock does hold up, so that is a good thing for this one. Again, the backs are, I think, lovely. Now the artwork is fabulous, I think. I love this block style artwork. Look at this magician. He's just, I think, phenomenal. Yeah, and very interesting. This one I would not say is either Smith-Waite or Thoth. Yeah, if anything, this magician reminds me a lot of the Thoth Fool card. Well, I've got the Fool card right here, just by coinkydink. Yeah, look at that. Doesn't that remind you of, the symbols are different, but look at the posture of the magician and the posture of the Fool. Almost the same, right? We've got the Fool holding stuff above his head. We got the magician holding stuff above his head. Yeah? Very, very interesting. And do you see the 4 signs of the suits here in the magician card? There's this figure here that looks like it's taking a dive into the cup below, right? We've got 2 pentacles here. We've got a sword here. We've got a wand here. So we've got all of those expected elements in the magician card, right? We also have what looks like the fire, water, air, and earth signs in triangle glyphs in the corners. Very lovely art. Very conscious of the symbols that we look for in Tarot. Yes? So, I think this is a very well-designed deck. It has strong images. It's very clean. It's easy to see. Even when images are so full. I mean, there's so much in here. The plant above the magician's head. We've got this double-sided, the 6-pointed star here, which also reminds us of fire, water, air, and earth, right? We've got the elements we pointed out, the wand, the sword, the cup, the pentacle. We've got the glyphs on the corners. We've got plants down here. We've got fish above his head. There's the infinity symbol is here. His head is surrounded by a sunflower and covered by 2 what looks like fish heads, one in light and one in dark. There's so much we can read into this one card. The symbols are rich, and yet they're also very easy for me to see. Are they easy for you to see? Do you see these arrows here? It's all very, very interesting to me. But I see this one card here does throw me just a little bit, because when I see this, I see the Thoth Fool. Okay, so neither here nor there. The rest of the deck, I don't have that problem. Yes, I don't have the problem with any of the other cards. What do we want to say about the artwork? Yes. Yes, the Minor Arcana has the astrology in it, which I like. Yeah, you can see here with the 5 of Swords, right? This one's a little bit difficult to see. We have Venus in Aquarius. Venus in Aquarius. Yes? Let's look at the next card. Prince of Cups. Okay. Court cards do not have astrology on them, which I am a little bit disappointed with, but let's move right on to here. Okay, the Sun in Capricorn, right? For the 4 of Pentacles, 4 of Cups, the Moon, here's the Moon right there too, the Moon in Cancer. Very easy to see, yes? Here we have the Sun in Sagittarius. Very easy to see. So the astrology here, some of them are really, really easy. Like, look, Mercury in Cancer. Can't avoid that. Can't avoid it at all. So I like that. Now, they're not the astrology that I would prefer, frankly. The associations that I have organized for myself are different from this. This deck leans directly into the Golden Dawn associations with the Chaldean zodiacal wheel of decans. Yes? I don't prefer that one. Personally, I prefer decans with triplicities based on the traditional planets. All the fire signs have all the fire sign planets. All the air signs have all the air sign planets. I like that better. But I read this deck with the astrology associated to it as printed on the card. Yes? That's how I fly. And like I said, this deck has some very, very Smith-Waite styled images and very, very, to me, Harris-Crowley styled images. Let me pull up the cards that looked very, very Harris-Crowley to me. And let me start off with this pair. Yeah? Here we have the Fool. Yes? Now, like I said, the Magician looked a little bit more like the Fool to me, but look at this. We got the alligator down here. Yeah? We've got the butterfly. Where's the butterfly? There's the butterfly. The butterfly up here. The two children. If you know this card, you know that there are these two children down here in the Thoth deck. You know, the Fool is holding on to this crystal, just like here. Yeah? We don't have the fire as in the Thoth deck. We don't have the bag of zodiacal coins either. And instead of a tiger grabbing onto the Fool's leg, we have a monkey. However, except for those things, this is a very Thoth-inspired card to me. Let's look at the Hermit. Actually, you know, the major arcana is mostly where I see a lot of Thoth echoes. Okay, look at this Hermit. Beautiful. You will notice this kind of spermatozoa style head here, reminding me of this thing here. Yeah? We don't have what is the name of that dog? The three-headed dog guarding the gates of Hades is, it starts with a C, I think. You're probably madly typing in the comments below. But you know that dog, yeah? Oh, you also see this winding around what could be this egg right here, the Ouroboros, right? And the cosmic egg. Not the Ouroboros, Omphalos, the cosmic egg, right? Now, we don't have the exact geometry that is indicated here. And instead of a crystalline lamp with a sun inside or a star inside, we have a candle lamp, but we still have a star inside of the light here. Yeah? So I'm not saying he's trying to copy Lady Frieda Harris's art, but there are a lot of echoes. Let's look at the Hierophant. Now look at this Hierophant. Very interesting. We've got the two elephants. Definitely not a Smith-Waite Hierophant, right? We got the two elephants. We got a big old bull. We got a big old bull, right? We've got the star at the chest with the little baby Horus right there, right? The tiaras are different, certainly. And interestingly, instead of having the four elements around the Hierophant like Lady Frieda Harris has here with the lion, the bull, the face of Aquarius, and the eagle of Scorpio, we have Aquarius, the sword. Now, the wand, which should be Leo, which should be down here, but okay. People don't necessarily need to follow that order, you know? So, we still have the sword, the wand, the cup, and the pentacle. Now, I would have liked the pentacle over here, the cup up here, the wand down here, but, you know, we've got it all. Yes? We're missing Isis down here, which is a little sad, but except for some of the bits being missing, there's a lot of what I see as Harris-Crowley. Look at this one, the Eight of Pentacles. Yeah, we do have a little guy down here working on this plant somehow. I don't know, maybe he's carving a sculpture. However, do you see a similarity between these two cards, except for this little head and the little hammer? I mean, I'm just saying. Yeah, there's a city back here instead of a field, but I'm just saying, this is, a really close match. This one is a little less obvious, but if you know both cards, you know this black and white could be a rainbow. Placement of Mercury and Sagittarius, just the same, right? We've got these arrow-like heads to the wands, similar to these arrows here. We don't have the crystal prism, certainly, but still, a lot of echoes, right? Okay, you're going to tell me, now wait a second, that looks just like the Smith-Waite deck. The guy, crossed arms, sitting in front of a wall, well, here it's a bridge, but a wall of cups. But look above. All of those cups are being filled with lotuses, just like in the Harris-Crowley deck, right? Isn't that interesting? Do you see why I see so many echoes back and forth? Look at this Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, she's got the antlers on her head. They're different antlers, but she's got antlers on her head. We've got the goat right here. We don't have a goat in the Smith-Waite deck. We've got a bunny, right? We've got grain. Well, we got the wheat up there in the distance, or the plants out there in the distance. Sure. She's holding one big disc and one little one here, which could be this thing here, maybe. I don't know. But still, a lot. I see echoes. Let's look at another queen here. The Queen of Swords. Yeah? Not a Smith-Waite queen at all. But look at this. Now, her sword is pointing in a different direction, yes. She is much more alert than the Queen of Swords in this Harris-Crowley deck. However, look at this face. Look at this face. Opposite sides, but it's a very, very Harris-Crowley inspired image, right? Let's look at the Princess of Cups. You'll be saying, no, it doesn't look the same at all. But, okay, first, does it look like the Page of Cups in the Smith-Waite deck? Not to me. We've got a female figure here in the water. We got this fish here. We got the dolphin there. Yeah. We got the turtle coming out of the cup. We got the turtle coming out of the cup. Right? We got the lotus. We got the lotus. All things that we don't see in the Smith-Waite deck. Yes? The Princess of Swords. Yeah? Look at these. Female figure holding up sword, front of this is an altar. Female figure holding up a sword, this is an altar. I'm just saying, look at all the smoke around. I'm just saying, so much, very, very strongly Harris-Crowley in this deck. And yet there are some things that are definitely not. Okay, so for example, let's start off with the moon card. Yes, this is not the Harris-Crowley moon by any stretch of the imagination. This is definitely Smith-Waite or even Terre de Marseille, right? We got the two different dogs. One definitely more domesticated than the other in this deck. We got the crab coming up. We got the two towers looking more like residences, but hey, okay. We got the path leading up into the mountains to the moon. Lovely card, but more Smith-Waite, right? Let's look at the Judgment card. The Judgment card is much more Smith-Waite. You'll know that in the Harris-Crowley deck, this is called Aeon, yes? And we have more Horus, we have Nut, we have the idea of eons moving from one to the other. But here we have that resurrection of the dead idea of the Judgment card with the angel blowing the horn from above. Definitely Smith-Waite or Terre de Marseille. Here we have the Three of Wands. Yes? Now you'll know that the Three of Wands in the Harris-Crowley deck is almost a pip card, right? It has no human figures. Here we got the guy with the wands. He's standing on the wands in this deck, but we've got the ship in the distance, right? We've got the astrological information that we would have in the Harris-Crowley deck, but the general structure and the concept of the card is very, very Smith-Waite. Yes? Here we have the Seven of Wands. Definitely not Harris-Crowley, right? Definitely inspired by the Smith-Waite deck. The guy standing up, one wand in his hand, 6 more coming up from below. Now we got some additional information in the background, but very, very Smith-Waite. Now, here I would like to point out one thing. Now, maybe now? No, I'll talk about that later. Okay, so move on. Speaking of sevens, here we have the Seven of Cups. Yes? Very, very much inspired by the Smith-Waite deck, right? We got the different elements in each one of the cups, right? The ghost, the head, the castle, the snake. Where's the snake here? The snake's up here. Yeah, the dragon, the laurel wreath, the jewels. It's all there. And the book reads very, very much like... Okay, I think I do have this one here. Seven of Cups. So let me tell you what the meanings are for this card in the guidebook. Yes? Debauchery. Now, debauchery is very similar to the Harris-Crowley, the Harris-Crowley title for the card. However, if you keep going on, you're going to read more Smith-Waite into this, yes? It says debauchery. It says confusion, temptation, spreading one's attention too thin, chasing too many enticements at once. But then we move back into maybe a little bit of Harris-Crowley, self-indulgence, wallowing in selfish pleasures. By confronting all those dangers and distractions, the shadowy human figure may be able to take solid shape, having vanquished temptation. So we've got a little bit of a blending of meanings, I think, in this particular card. Others, not so much. For example, the Seven of Swords. I don't have it out here, but the Seven of Swords. Let me show you. Right? The Seven of Swords has a very Smith-Waite looking version to it, right? But the title, fruitlessness, is associated in the meanings. However, instead of the ideas that flow from fruitlessness in the Thoth deck, we've got a misguided enterprise, a childish prank, a rash endeavor, a provocative act, a daring gesture, a risky venture but not a fatal one. That's not really what the descriptions of the Thoth system point towards. Yeah? Okay, let's move on to the Ten of Cups, which is very, very Smith-Waite to me. Can you see it? We've got instead of cups, they are, crystals, maybe diamonds? But we've got the idea of that rainbow above. We've got the couple here. You see the couple there? Maybe a little bit non-gendered, but that's great. But the couple there. We've got the children are huge in this version, but the children dancing, the house off in the distance, very, very much a Smith-Waite revision. Recreation of the card. And speaking of very, very strongly Smith-Waite, let's look at this card. Yes, the Three of Swords. No missing it, right? Heart, 3 swords piercing it. Rain in the background. We got some blood flowing from the heart, which is a nice addition. However, very, very Smith-Waite. The 8 of Swords is similarly very, very Smith-Waite, right? The lady being tied up, blindfolded, surrounded by swords. Definitely Smith-Waite. The 7 of Pentacles is also very, very Smith-Waite, except for one thing. You see, these aren't pentacles, right? These look like people's heads. Do you see that? You see the hairline and the nose, the hairline, the eyes, and a hint of the nose down there. Yeah? This one's pretty easy to see. A hairline, a nose, the eyes, the rest of the face. I think this is supposed to be one of the pentacles. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, this is one of the pentacles, and this is the one that looks the least like a human head. But you can't miss the guy leaning on the shovel or the hoe, right? You can't miss it. And the 10 of Pentacles, very, very similarly. You can't miss, we got an old guy in a chair, right? Now, the pentacles are not in the shape of the tree of life, of course, but we got an old guy in a chair. Instead of dogs, we've got 2 cats. Okay, we got a little kid here, the little kid here. We're missing the couple in the background. That's okay. We've got the house in the background, though. Very, very much Smith-Waite inspired cards, if you ask me. So that's an interesting thing about this deck. We've got this blend of both. And I've got a couple of other cards I'd like to look at in the guidebook when we think of meanings, yeah? Here, this is the guidebook's description of, let me see how I can do this for you, yeah, of temperance. Now, you'll see that the image for temperance is more similar to the Smith-Waite version than to the Harris-Crowley version, because we've got this, I don't know, it's not really an angel to me. It looks more like dragonfly wings, but, you know, we got to figure the butt is to us instead of the face being towards us, but the cups pouring water between one to the other. We got the lilies on this side. We got the mountain with the crown, right? Very Smith-Waite. The Crowley deck calls this card art, and we have a very clear image of a person doing alchemical work in this Harris-Crowley deck. But look at the meanings here. Yeah? Temperance grants blessings to humanity and to all life, even to the lowly frog hidden in the bushes. Oh, there's a frog there. Hidden in the rushes, not bushes, I'm sorry. Temperance fosters a beautiful balance of forces in the heart and soul, drive and restraint, masculine and feminine, light and dark. Eschew extremes, the card says. Chart your course in the moderate middle. As the temple inscription read, nothing in excess. This temperate middle path is no mild or boring or watered down compromise, however. It is a vital admixture of dynamic forces, a water and wine mixture that is more delicious and true than either one alone. Now, if you heard that description, you will notice that it is much more in alignment with the Smith-Waite system. Yeah, the Harris-Crowley system really points towards alchemy. The combination of the red king and the white queen, and they're birthing something new. We do get a hint of a fragrance of the art card in this last sentence. A water and wine mixture that is more delicious and true than either one alone. And yet it's not strong enough for me. It really does point towards, to me, a Smith-Waite system reading. Let's look at the lovers just briefly. Actually, we're going to see this lover card in just a moment. Okay, so let me hold off on that. Now, what are we going to look at? After reading with this for a month, there are cards that I really, really liked. The symbolic richness is just, it's delicious, yeah? I think it's a very good intuitive read. I think it's as intuitive as, for example, the Smith-Waite deck would be. So if you have trouble reading the Smith-Waite deck intuitively, this might be a little more challenging for you. If the images in the Smith-Waite deck look too old or out of your experience, this might also. However, I think this is a strong intuitive read. Significance comes easily. Not very challenging if you already know this deck, or if you know both systems. And some cards that I particularly liked. Let me pull those out. Yeah? Where are you, my babies? Where are you? Oh, you're there. Okay, so. Some cards I really, really liked. Here. I love this Two of Cups card. I love the Lotus down here, which reminds me a bit of the Harris-Crowley deck, but the Harris-Crowley deck in the Two of Cups does not have these two people, right? In a very, very intimate embrace, and I love that. I love that. I think that's just lovely. I love this Nine of Pentacles. Yes? We got the lady. The bird, instead of being bound up on her, the falcon, I should say, instead of being hooded and on her arm, is set free, right? Flying up. This burst of just joyful energy, of satisfaction to its extreme, right? There's a joyful exuberance in the material nature of this card, which I just adore. The Hanged Man. You know I love me a Hanged Man, right? I think this Hanged Man is beautiful. Beautiful in form, but also beautiful in image. We've got the Ankh up here, which echoes back to the Harris-Crowley deck, right? We've got a balance here of sun and moon, which I like. You can read this as land or as maybe water, I don't know, but I think this is a beautiful, beautiful version of this card. One thing that I appreciate with Harris-Crowley and what I don't want to say I dislike in the Smith-Waite, but I find I miss having, okay, let me say this in the clearest and most succinct way I can. One of the reasons that I was drawn to studying the Harris-Crowley deck is that the astrological associations are right there on the cards, right? On the major arcana, we have the Hebrew letter, we have the astrological, planetary, zodiac sign, or the elemental glyph on the card itself, which I really, really like. Now that my personal associations have changed, maybe I will like it a little less, but I like having that information on the card, and I wish that this deck kept that information on the cards for the major arcana as well. Now, here we have the Ace of Wands. This is fabulous, I think. We've got the very clear ace here. And whereas the Harris-Crowley deck turns the wand into a tree of life with the flames, we don't get that, and yet we do get a fragrance of that here within the design of this wand. It isn't there. It really isn't there. But I smell the potential for it becoming visible within the card, if that makes sense. Yeah? I love this Four of Swords. Instead of the guy lying on top of the coffin, I love this person in meditation pose, with the hands touching right there at the point of the four swords meeting. I love that. I think that is just phenomenal. Beautiful, beautiful image. I love this star image. The star is neither Harris-Crowley nor Smith-Waite. We do get a little bit of the universe here in the background, but I love that she is holding the star in her hand. Yeah? I love that she's almost got wings there in her back, right? I love that. We've got a star up there, but she has her hands on her own North Star, or her own North Star is there, maybe shining from within her even. It's a lovely, lovely image, and I think a very good intuitive read. I love this death card. It's a little challenging to see, right? The card is neither Harris-Crowley nor Smith-Waite, although it does echo one thing from the Harris-Crowley deck, which is death looking like it is dancing. You see the endless dance of death, right? So here we have the skeleton here, dancing with a fleshed out human. And a lot of symbols around that. We've got a bit of a yin, not yin-yang in form, but a yin-yang, I think, in idea of this black tree and somewhat white tree below, right? Although the roots, these are probably roots, but they also look like a mirror of the tree. I love that. It's just fabulous. Okay, the Lover's card. Love this Lover's card. It has echoes of both Smith-Waite and Harris-Crowley. How? We've got the lovers here. They are not regally dressed king and queen as they are in the Harris-Crowley deck. They are the more naked people. Instead of the angel being large and above them both, and them being smaller and to the sides, here we have got the little Cupid up there. Right? Which is a little bit Harris-Crowley, but really Harris-Crowley is these two figures down here. The two, I don't know, putti, or the two children of the king and queen. And that the dark child is with the white queen, and that the white child is with the dark king. And you'll notice that their gender is different. You don't see that in most other decks. The gender is usually neutral for these children. But we've got a white female attached to the dark king, and a very dark male attached to the white queen. Very interesting. Let's look at what the book says about this card. Let's see, where are you, lovers? Okay, so the book says, the lovers rejoice. Oh, okay, let me read a little bit more. Now, the poem at the beginning. I am lover and loved. The distinction of two ones becoming two. The matter of relationship, choice made whole. That was the little poem beginning the entry. The lovers stand together, united in their deep intimacy, yet separated by a pensive detachment. Do you see that? Inspired by an image of Eve and Adam by Tamara de Lempicka, the couple touch but are drawn inward and do not look at each other. Even in embrace of the beloved, they are alone even in the embrace of the beloved, we are alone with our thoughts. She is light and he is dark. This contrast conforms to the artistic conventions of many cultures, including those of ancient India and Greece, but also differs from the customary feminine, dark, masculine, light opposition of many cosmologies. Amor, god of love, flies over the heads of the two lovers. There we go. Besides the lovers are small cupids, made male and female, who hold up party-colored hats. Really? They hold up, hearts. Oh, say, party-colored hearts. I see. I'd never noticed that before. Okay. They are blindfolded because love is blind. Okay. Unconcerned with consequences. Similarly, the lovers can become so involved in each other that they can become blind to the outside world. In the upper left corner, a rising sun has appeared over a cityscape, showing that a new morning is dawning for the lovers. Here is cause for new hope. Evidence that love has survived night and that affection and commitment have been renewed. Comforting birds and fertile fish cavort in the background. Comforting birds. Comforting birds. I see the fish. Birds. Maybe that, okay, so that's an element that's a little difficult for me to see. But okay, let's keep going. Goepferd in the background. Where are we? And Amor himself emerges from the mouth of a fish. Yes, mouth of a fish, Amor. The end point of a fish chain like that of the magician. That's a good thing to remember. We got a fish chain reminding us of the magician. The lovers are nourished by the natural fertility of the world, and the love they create together feeds the world soul in turn. All very nice. So, meaning, the lovers rejoice in their union. Love radiates from them and illuminates all their surroundings. Affection, friendship, attraction, romance, courtship, marriage. All the stages of sweet partnership spring from the lovers. Eros of all kinds. Oops. From the primal impulses of the body to the highest aspirations of the soul is the province of this card. Sometimes there are the dangers of unhappy, unrequited, or ill-fated love. Love, though, is our greatest joy and duty in life, and the lovers bless all our amorous pleasures and strengthen us in our striving for meaningful, fulfilled affection. Wonderful, but not a Harris-Crowley card, right? Look at this card, the Two of Pentacles. Makes you think just a little bit, maybe of the Two of Cups. But look at this. Yeah, we've got the yin-yang. We've got the snake Ouroboros, reminding me just a little bit of the Harris-Crowley deck. Just a little bit. Yeah? And, okay, so, cards I don't like. There is one card. Count it, one card. This is the only card that I don't really like in this deck. Which is good. For a whole deck, only one card that is a little bit off-putting is a really good ratio. So, why don't I like this card so much? I find this card confusing. Yeah? Now, if we think of the 6 of discs in the Harris-Crowley deck, what do we have? We have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 discs laid out in this manner. Yes? When we think of the Smith-Waite deck, we think of the guy holding the scales with people asking for handout or for donations for help. Yes? But those scales are sitting on top of this person's head here, has a rose at his collar, or her collar, which is nice, I guess. But then above his or her head, we've got this figure doing what looks like the Shining Tribe Tarot by Rachel Pollack's Shining, the Shining Tribe pose, yeah? I don't know. This card, I see these two hands here, which is nice. It looks a little bit like giving, but it doesn't... This one card, just the arrow here doesn't help. The discs in this... Why? Okay, so for the Harris-Crowley deck, the 6 of Pentacles is success, which looks kind of like this guy here. But this person does not look like success. This person looks like the Smith-Waite person maybe giving out donations. It's just a little bit too push me, pull you for me. And it's a little too... It makes me want to say pick a lane. You know what I mean? It really is saying pick a lane to me. So I don't know. That's the only card that is a little bit, makes me a little bit unhappy. The rest of the cards, love the deck. Love them all. So, when I look at decks, I try to see if there's a unique twist to the cards, if there's something particularly special that strikes me, and I would say, yeah, that's the entire deck, because again, it's neither here nor there. It's neither Harris-Waite nor is it Smith-Crowley. It's a blending of both and yet something different as well. So I think the entire deck is intriguing. Yeah? They all have a unique twist to them, the whole deck. However, I can't exactly say that I developed a deep connection with this deck. My mind was engaged by every card. But that engagement was so intellectual, I didn't feel like I ever got, at least until this point, a really deep personal connection with the deck. It's stayed a very intellectual deck for me. Yeah? I like the astrology for the minors. I like and yet we still have very RWS interactions with the images like the Smith-Waite. I think it's time. It's time, let's go to my deck interview for this deck and let's look at that so you can see some cards together at play. Yeah? Here we go. Friends, you just saw the template that I use for my deck interviews. And you saw a photo of this spread. And this is the best that I can do for us on camera right now because, like I said, these cards are big, right? But I think you can see all of these cards easily enough because the images are also very clear and very bold, which, again, I love that about this deck. I really do. So, just as a quick refresher, this card is for the place of who are you? Yeah. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Very sad picture for weaknesses, right? What are you here to teach me? What blessing can I receive from you? How can we best work together? And what is the probable outcome of our interaction? Which is interesting because this actually was my card for the day. I'm doing a card a day draw for myself a little bit, but also for my tarot class so that we can all share our daily draws and how we interpret them, and I can guide them a little bit and help them along with their interpretation skills as I show them how I interpret my cards for my day. I think that makes sense. So, anyways, so this was my card for the day. In the Smith-Waite system, that is the Knight of Pentacles, yes? So, what do I see? First thing I want to look at overall is that we've got a good balance, right? We've got wands, we've got pentacles, we've got swords, we've got cups, another extra pentacle here, but a nice balance. We've got 2 major arcana. That's nice. So this is a very balanced spread, I think, indicating it's a very balanced deck, which is good because it's called the Light and Shadow Tarot. Balance. Now, I don't know if you can tell. The card that I bent is right here on this table. Can you see which one it is? Can you see where that crease is? Yep, it's right here. This crease right along this line. Now, fortunately, it's right along the line, so you can't see it that clearly, but first card right out of the deck as I just did my first interview with this deck, I creased that card, and I don't even remember how I did it. It was lying on, I don't remember. Anyways, it was a really silly thing, and it wasn't that difficult to crease the card. So that's where I started getting nervous about how I'm shuffling and using this deck. But beautiful, beautiful deck. Just beautiful art. Okay, so what is this spread telling us? Who does the deck say that it is? It says that it is the King of Wands. Now, I'm going to be reading this spread with my newer associations for tarot. Yes? So for me, the King of Wands is, what? He is the... So for me, okay, without getting into the whole system that I have arranged for myself, the kings are Saturn for me. So this is Saturn ruling the fire signs. Yeah, so this is a card of controlled ambition. He's the strategic warrior. He's the regulated creator. He's the disciplined philosopher. Now, his fire is tempered and sustained. His spark of inspiration turns into permanent structure. Now, all of that Saturnian energy within the framework of fire's warrior, creator, philosopher attributes, right? So that is who the King of Wands is for me. Now, let me just really, really quickly peek into the book to see what the creator of this deck says about the King of Wands. He says, the King of Wands marshals fiery forces of change, movement, volatility, victory. If personified, the king will appear as forceful, ambitious, successful person. Okay, so that's what this deck is saying it is. It is controlled, powered, empowered, and powerful fire of philosophy, creativity, and maybe a little bit of aggression if it's not well contained. Yes? And that kind of makes sense for this deck. I feel that from this deck quite a bit. But still, it's not only that Saturnian fire energy, it's also Empress energy, right? So the strengths of this deck, which I agree with, are Empress. Now for me, the Empress is associated with Jupiter. Don't get your panties in a bunch. For me, the Empress is associated with Jupiter. But you'll notice that at the bottom of the Empress, there are 4 little wise men, with a sword, a wand, a cup, a pentacle, which is interesting, right? She's got all of the elements there for her creation. The natural Mother Nature version of the magician, perhaps. But for me, Jupiter is the planet of expansion and wealth and abundance. Very Empress-like qualities, right? So she's also associated with the Hebrew letter Gimel, which is the symbol of a camel or a rope. Gimel is the benefactor to Dalet, the next Hebrew letter, which would also be the emperor. So she is the benefactor to the emperor, right? She nourishes until the thing is completely ripe. A very empress-like quality. She's also associated with Chesed, what is it? Okay, so we start with Kether, Chokmah, Binah, Chesed, right? Chesed on the father pillar, but Chesed is the Sephiroth of loving kindness, very Empress style qualities, right? Now, because we have the association to Gimel, we also have an association to Thuriaz, the rune from the Elder Futhark, which is what? Thuriaz is a thorn, but it's also power. It's protection. And I think the Empress also has those potential qualities. She nurtures and she nourishes, but she can protect. She has power. I want to re-empower the Empress to do what she can. She has the potential to do. She can overcome obstacles as well. So I think these are all qualities that this deck has in its strongest or most powerful attributes. There's fertility, there's femininity, there's beauty, there's nature, there's abundance, there's creativity, there's maternity. It can give birth to new ideas. And as it has given birth to a light and dark, a Waite and Crowley, a Smith and Harris hybrid, yeah? Now, what is its weakness? Well, 5 of Cups. Yeah, Mars in Scorpio. Now, Mars is well placed in Scorpio, right? Mars's domicile is Scorpio. So you'd think that that's good placement. Yeah, Mars in Scorpio is intense emotions, however. Strong willpower. Utilizing the old and discarding things that are unnecessary. Everything can be used as it is, or it must be transformed into something else. no fear of change or death. So this guy's not afraid. There's a desire for rejuvenation here. Mars and Scorpio, they can be healers in a sense. They're enterprising. They don't tolerate weakness or laziness. And they go for the frank and brutal truth. So, all of those qualities can leave us disappointed with reality, right? And so we still have the ideas of perhaps regret, failure, disappointment, pessimism, loss, mourning, because what we see does not match what we anticipate as potential. And our intense emotions and our strong willpower to make things right can be frustrated. And maybe that's a bit of what this deck is. There's this intense, strong willpower to make things, to discard the old, but it can be frustrated, and there might be a little bit of frustration that can be a weakness for this deck, if that makes sense. So we move down here to the sun for what it is here to teach us. Yeah, and for me, the sun is Pisces, which is a domicile for Jupiter, just saying. So Jupiter, nice connection. Its strong point is what we're here to teach us, is that Jupiterian aspect, but in the Piscean mode. And what is that? It's abundance and fertility. They multiply like fish, yeah? It's the happiest month of the Judaic year, by the way, yeah? The month of Pisces. God's works in the world, the inner life of faith, is here in the sun. It's associated with the Hebrew letter Resh, which is the symbol for the head. You got a big old head here, yeah? Beginning a new cycle. It holds the number 200, and it points to both wickedness and higher consciousness. So it sees both the light and the dark. That's what it's here to teach us. Now, because it's associated with Resh, it's also associated with the rune Manaz of the Elder Futhark, which is what? It's destiny, it's self-knowledge, it's spiritual power, very sun-like qualities, right? It's intelligence, it's foresight and creativity, it's divine order and awareness, very sun-like attributes. So we see the sun above what looks like maybe Mideastern roofs here, maybe Russian, maybe Slavic Russian. That's probably it. Okay, so this is a card of positivity, of fun, warmth, success, vitality, attainment, glory, majesty, celebrity, eminence. But not the eminence of, the Kardashians, but the eminence of the spiritually empowered Dalai Lama, for example, or the maybe even Mother Teresa. Yeah, those self-knowing, spiritually empowered, intelligent, thinking forward and creative people. That's what it wants to teach us. Now, you'll notice that we have this sun disk here, which reminds me a little bit, or mirrors to me, the blessing we can receive from this deck, which is the Ace of Pentacles, right? And what is the Ace of Pentacles? For me, the Ace of Pentacles, that would be the first decanate of cardinal Earth, which is Capricorn. Yeah, so the Capricornian energy of going forward, starting the path, moving towards success, moving up the mountain, yeah, finding the new opportunity and moving towards its completion. Very Ace of Pentacles qualities, right? So, this could be new opportunities, manifestation, the beginnings of manifestation, not full manifestation, but the beginnings of manifestation, abundance, maybe some small financial gain, but the blessing we can receive from this deck is that we will get the seed of our movement forward in the material world. as little baby Capricorns, with Saturn, little baby Saturn, in our corner for support, with boundaries, with rules and regulations, with what? The routines and the discipline that Saturn can empower us with. Now, we don't want to get down on Saturn. Saturn is a very helpful planet if we approach it and appreciate it in its best way. Yeah? So many people, oh, Venus, 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 oh, Jupiter, 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 but they have downsides too. Just like Saturn has a very positive side, and just like Mars has a very positive aspect as well. Yes? So we want to remember that. So, the King of Swords, love him, love him. He is holding his scimitar, he's riding forward on his horse. Yeah? He echoes the quality of the rider in all three central cards, right? The king and the prince and the king again. And these two kings, they're very active kings, right? They're moving forward. And this king, how can we best work with this deck? Like I said, I thought it was a very intellectual deck, and the deck, I think, confirms my appreciation of it. Yeah? So, the King of Swords, Saturn ruling air, which is what? Intellectual filter. Yeah? Talking, brainstorming, sharing information is great. The King of Swords is the editor. He focuses on proven ideas. The King of Swords has social responsibility. Takes rebellion, but moves it into structured movement. Scattered interests are taken and moved into specialized mastery. That's how we can work with this deck. By moving into, mastery. By moving into structured movement. By brainstorming, taking ideas, sharing information, but editing them as well. And focusing on those ideas which have proven to be successful in the past is beneficial as well. Yes? And so what is the probable outcome? We have the Prince of Pentacles, which for me is Virgo. Yes? Virgo, which is domiciled by Mercury. So we have the energy of mutable earth entering our spread here, entering our lives. Now here we had cardinal earth, here we have mutable earth. Here we had fixed water. Here we had mutable water. That's interesting, right? Mutable water, fixed water. Yeah? Cardinal earth, fixed earth, mutable earth. Okay. So, I'm sorry, no. Here we go. Cardinal earth, mutable earth, fixed water, mutable water. So we've got a little bit of mutable moving on in this mutability, moving in this spread, right? Okay, back to the Prince of Pentacles. Virgo. So what? Hard work, productivity, methodical movement, methodical work, right? Rational approaches to doing what you're doing. Being stable, being reliable, following routines, conserving that which is good. Those are all qualities that we can take using this deck, I think. Yes? Because if we can work with it as an intellectual approach, we can reap the benefits by using it with a rational approach, in a working hard and being productive with this deck. And those qualities can be enhanced in us through using this deck. Yes? But there's a vital movement with this deck as well. Just as there's opportunity of revelation and movement through work with this deck. And the benefits of this deck are very, very expansive and creative. And there's some potential frustration, right? So I think this reading is pretty accurate for this deck, yeah? So my final verdict for this deck is what? I think it is good for beginners because the guidebook is clear, the art is well described, and there is a clear system to the structure of this deck that will be a good entry point for beginners. And it is also good for those who are experienced with both the Smith-Waite and the Thoth decks, because it forces us seems a little too harsh. It challenges us to work with both systems at the same time, yeah? I think it's an interesting blend of the two systems from the Golden Dawn. I wish there were clear zodiacal associations on the court cards, but I wish that for the Thoth deck as well. So, just saying. I wish the Major Arcana had clear zodiacal, planetary, elemental associations, Hebrew associations. I wish those were on those cards as well. But, they're not on the Smith-Waite deck either, so take that for what it's worth. The bold images are easy to read. It's easier if you're familiar with both Smith-Waite and Harris-Crowley, but they are easy to read, I think. The tug between Harris-Crowley and Smith-Waite, I think, kept me in the intellectual side of my readings, honestly, but I don't think that's bad. And I would recommend this deck. I really would. What do you think? How do you feel about this deck? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you use this deck or any other decks like it, let us know and tell us what you think of it. Yeah? And how you felt about your connection with this deck if you have used it. If you'd like to see me do a deck review like this for a deck you're interested in, let me know in the comments below. Yeah? If you're into tarot reviews or just curious about different decks, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Hit the thumbs up button. I'm very gratified when I see that. I'm very pleased, and it helps other people find us. Now, I'll be sharing more insights on decks in the future. Don't worry about that. But if you want to see a specific deck, let me know. And if you want a reading from me, the QR code and the web address for my online tarot shop will appear before your very eyes in just moments. So, friends, what do you think? I think this is a powerful deck. It really is. It might look a little heavy-handed at times, but that doesn't bother me. I think it is a very balanced deck in thought, in process, in concept, and it's lovely. It really is lovely. And I can see many areas where you can find echoes from card to card. Like I saw the animals being ridden in these court cards, like I saw the Sun and the Ace of Pentacles, yeah? The Empress having all four of the suit symbols here could tie her in with any card on the table, right? The fish here could, I'm sure, tie into another card the fish here could tie into a card that is not on the table, but that's wonderful, right? I think this is lovely. So, friends, I will stop here. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.